Okay, today we're going to talk about SharePoint. SharePoint is the system that Indie Learning Centers is going to use to record and track most of its data. So SharePoint is a collaborative tool that Microsoft developed mainly to allow people over the internet to share and communicate different information. So it does this in a very secure but yet a functional way. So what the main thing is really actually navigating to the website. So we're going to talk about navigating to the website and around the website. We're going to talk about your permission and having access to the system. We're also going to talk about how to log out and switch users, because sometimes you'll be utilizing multiple computers to access the SharePoint system. So we'll just get into it. So you're going to get into the best way to get there. You can just type in the URL to the SharePoint website, but it's a little bit long and a little bit more complex. So the best way to get there, I've found, is actually go to the IndieLearn website. So if you type in indielearn.org, at the very bottom of the web page, you'll actually see it, and it'll be Indie LC SharePoint. So clicking on this link, it'll take you to that site. If you have questions or if it's not working, obviously let us know. So I'd actually remembered that I've been on this computer before. So that's not always like what you're going to be doing, but because it's my personal computer, the one that I use constantly at work, it's already integrated into SharePoint and it remembers who I am. So you might not have that experience, especially for the first time. So I'm actually going to sign out and show you how it works in terms of signing in for the first time. Well, I actually won't remember that. So we'll just typically you'll sign in, and you're going to sign in utilizing your credentials. However, if I wanted to sign in as a different user, I could also sign in instead of InMont, which I currently am. I can also sign in as InLearn. So InLearn is my group account for training. So it's important to use the credentials that the campus has given you. We've allowed that same credential to access our machine and our server. So if you have problems with that, you can contact us, and we'll make sure you get in. If you actually have problems with your password or anything like that, you can actually contact the university IT people with UITS. I'm going to log in. Oh, it didn't like that password. There it is. So it allowed me to come in. So right now you can see that I'm logged in as Indie Learning Center staff. So this is a group account that I've created to mimic the view that a tutor would have. So we're going to look at the options that we can perform here in the Indie Learning Center site. We can check out some of the links in My ILC, and we can even check out some of the training. Some of the common tutor tasks would be request time off, change availability, view my schedule, and my training. The main links here is to the portal for each school. So each school has a portal, and that portal is the website and the collaborative tool that you will be utilizing at that site. So all the tutors will utilize the same portal at the school, so you can track the progress that you've made in terms of tutoring with the kids there at the school. So today we're going to actually log into the ILC training site. So this is the site that we want to use for training, and you're more than welcome to kind of try it out utilizing this site, because this site is really made for non-production use. So if you're just wanting to see how it works and make sure you got it before you go out to the school, this is a great site to practice and interact with. So I'm going to click on the portal. These two links called Report and Tutor Report are also available to you. they just take you to very specific pages within the tutor portal. So each site is set up in a very similar way. I'm not going to tell you that they're all the same because each school can customize their site to fit their particular needs. So if it looks very different, then we may provide you with some more instructions on the changes of that school. However, for the most part, what you'll likely be doing is adding activities, viewing the activities that you created. You may need to add a student and add a classroom. For the most part, that's mostly what you're going to be doing with this system in terms of interacting with it, is essentially adding activity and viewing the activity that you've added to make sure it's appropriate to the time that you've worked at the school. So we're going to actually add an activity right now. And the form comes up, and it's a pretty basic form. You have the ability here to add in a student. So if I wanted to show a student, say that I worked with student Nathan Mott today, I would add him. I could also add other students that we may have worked with and build a whole list of students. In addition to the students, we could also work in a classroom environment. So in a classroom, you don't need to add every student in the classroom. You may just add the classroom in itself. But if you felt that you'd worked in particular with, in this case, 4 students, Nathan, student 104, student 106, and student 109, then you could say, I was in Kara Chandler's class. However, I also worked more one-on-one with these 4 students. So you can do both. You can do students, you can do just classroom. So it's really however your tutoring session went. We want you to be able to have as many fields as you can. Then we also want to record the time. So today's tutoring session was from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. You can also add minutes here. The minutes have actually been rounded to the nearest 5 minutes. So we're not looking for the absolute second that you start tutoring. We're actually looking for kind of round numbers in terms of 5-minute intervals. So 12:05 to 1 o'clock. For the most part, we're going to be worked on as academic support. This would include anything with homework and anything preparing them for a academic assignment. So that might be a test that they may be doing in math or English. The only other option here is an other, and then also the state test prep. So if we were working on the ISTEP, which is a state test, or the ECA, another state test, we may have very specific outcomes and a very specific content that we're working on to help us work towards that goal. But today we actually did some homework, and we're going to do academic support. It's also important to record the grade, the subject that you worked on with the student. So today we were actually working on 7th grade math. And if you have questions on what subject, go ahead and ask the teacher that you're working with, and they may be able to tell you the subject if you're unsure about that. Today we actually worked on order of operations, so you can just type that in here. Now it's not going to know that. This web browser remembers what I've typed in before, and I've practiced this training with other people before. So we can also record the observation. The observation is the tutor's observation of how the student interacted with the tutor. So if you could summarize the entire tutoring session as saying, when I was working with Nathan and this group of students, after I was able to show them how to work with the problems, they were able to proceed independently with few or no errors. That's exactly what we want to see with tutoring, but it's not always the case. So if you don't see that type of interaction, it doesn't mean that you're not an effective tutor. It just means that they're not quite there yet. So we want to be able to kind of make an observation in terms of where are they at with their understanding of the subject. Were they making numerous errors when the student worked independently? Or are they unable to proceed independently without a tutor? So whatever that is on the scale, we want you to select that. However, sometimes it's not even applicable to have this question. So if you're working in a classroom environment and you really weren't doing that one-on-one interaction, you may not feel comfortable saying these students are able to proceed independently, few or no errors, or unable to proceed independently. You just really don't know. So you can also say this does not apply to this situation. But today, Nathan did a great job of working independently, and he had very few errors when he worked on the homework. Participation is very similar to observation. However, the only difference is it's not actually looking at outcomes in terms of, does he understand? It's really, what was he paying attention, and was he staying on task the entire time? So we've had students who may not get it, but they're really making an effort and staying on task. So if staying on task is the issue, this would be where you would report it. So Nathan, again, stayed on task the entire time. So that's it. We're going to go ahead and save, and then it's going to record our tutoring session. And after you've added a tutoring session, we're going to actually talk about how and what you'll do with that information. And that'll be in the next video that I'll record right after this.